Hi and welcome to the Hob Any tutorial. I'll try to keep this fairly short and snappy, but for certain parts when it comes to the actual run, I'll go through a couple backups and different variations of strats, depending on how risky you want to be. But before all that, before we get to the actual game, let's talk about pre-game setups, pre-run setups. So let's start with this. So this is where your save games are stored. So documents, my games, ruining games, hob, saves, blah blah blah. You end up here. The saves will store as be stored here as .hob files. And if you go to the leaderboards, the resources section of the leaderboards, you can download a zip file with a bunch of practice saves that you can just click and drag into here. You don't even have to rename them. They're all by default set to save slot 3. But yeah, that's it. Another thing about saves is I absolutely recommend between every single run you do, exit out of the game, go here. I just have a shortcut to this folder on my desktop. Go to this folder, delete all saves. That way, when you start your run, you will, well, one minor thing is you will save about 1.5 seconds because you don't have a loading screen when you click new game. If you do have saves installed and you have to pick a save slot, then you have about like a second or two of loads before your game actually starts running. The bigger point to this, to deleting your saves, is that the game has a very frequent or very common crash about 2 minutes 30 seconds into the run, which is during the intro credits. So, and in my experience, I haven't personally crashed a single time during that cutscene or during those intro credits since I started deleting my saves. So I would absolutely recommend doing that. Last thing worth looking at here is this text document called player controls. This has a ton of customization options and info that you can look at on your own in your own time. I'm just going to mention 2 things. This one I don't personally do, but it's an option depending on your preference, I guess. This is your sprint command basically, and what you can do is change this value on the toggles off. You can change this value from false to true, and what this means, instead of having to hold down the right trigger or shift in this case, if you're on keyboard, instead of having to hold down the button to run, you have to hold down the button to walk, and otherwise you will run. So that can be really useful. It has some issue with the menu, but if this is something you're interested in, first of all, it really shouldn't be a big problem anyway, because you shouldn't do this like certain menuing much anyway. But if this is something you're interested in and you want some more info on it, just ask me or someone else. I can lead you in the right direction. Further down, towards the middle, I guess, this is the only other thing I'm gonna talk about. Lock on toggle. So this is basically the button you have to hit to get a little white outline around your characters and go into like kind of see target mode. This prevents you from running, which in turn prevents you from thrusting, and it's really bad to accidentally hit this, and it can absolutely murder you. By default, this one has input 0, input 1, and input 2. Input 1 and 2 are your left and right thumbsticks, like pushing them in, and input 3 is tab. I've just removed since I play with the controller, I've just removed both of the controller inputs. You can, like, there's a lot of other things you could do here to avoid this problem, but that was just the easiest fix. I just grabbed the 2 controller inputs and just deleted them, because I have in the past had a tendency to accidentally hit the thumbsticks and lock onto enemies and have a bad time because of it. So those are the only things I would worry about here. Now let's quickly go to, this shouldn't take long, but yeah, let's just go to the launcher. These are just my settings. This is what I use, it's just preference. None of this actually matters. The only thing again, in my experience, I've had the game performance for whatever reason be way better when I play windowed mode rather than full screen and borderless windowed. I have no idea why, but that's just how it works for me. So other than that, just click start and you're ready to go. Alright, so now we're in game and pretty much ready to start a run, but I'll quickly look at some options here too. In controls, you have hold to grab. That's a setting that basically decides if you have to hold the X button when you're pushing and pulling stuff, or you can just press it and then you're kind of locked on and can move around. There are still a couple objects in the game that you have to hold on the button to push and pull, but most of them you can just press once and then move around. That's an option you can look at. If you like to alt-tab a lot, or you play with the game not being the focused window, or the window in focus I should say, then make sure pause in background is turned off. As for health and energy, I play with this always on because I like to have to keep an eye on my health at all times. Interact icons I would absolutely recommend having on, otherwise when you can grapple somewhere or you can move like a box or push a button or something, it won't pop up with the little X prompt and stuff like that. And lastly, difficulty easy, because of course there's no reason to play on a higher difficulty for the speedrun. So timing starts right here when you press new game. If you have saves in your save slots, then you will also have to pick a save slot and select like overwrite or something, and then you will start your timer. This intro cutscene is about 40-45 seconds long, so you have some time to just chill out before you play for like 30 seconds and then you have another 2-minute cutscene. I'm also gonna apologize right away for the frame rate on the video. My game runs really well on my computer, but it doesn't capture very well, so this is unfortunately the best I can do. Alright, so now we get control. Just spam the roll button, or time it depending on what you like to do. Rolling is slightly faster than just running. Okay, so the first trick here is we're gonna climb onto the little ledge on the right there. So what I recommend is just roll to the right, and then turn your stick down, and then jump. So yeah, just roll into the corner, aim down, and then jump. And that'll get you up most of the time. It's so early on and it's really easy to practice. You can just stay there forever, so we'll figure it out. Now we get to the infamous root jump. Collision in this game is very wonky at times, for better or for worse. It's good sometimes and bad some other times. It's also way easier to control or manage, and way easier to notice when you walk instead of running. So if you just walk up here, so just gain a bunch of height here. We're gonna use this height that we gain to jump over to this thing. So what I do is I just line up in the corner here, hold down left on my controller, and once I get the height, I turn my I aim my stick down and just jump here. If you keep holding down left when you do the jump, you can sometimes end up in this corner, and the game will just kind of like push you off. It's a tricky jump, but just practice it and you'll be fine. Run over here, and once you get to around here, I recommend just rolling into the cutscene, because that puts you very quickly right next to the giraffe, rather than the game taking control of your character and just having you walk really slow over to the giraffe. And now just lean back and enjoy a little over 2 minutes of cutscenes. And now we're coming up on the spot where the game tends to crash if you don't delete your saves. After this animation right here is where the game tends to crash. You can see even now, you can see and hear the game kind of stutter a little bit. I'm not sure why this is the case. It's very strange to have happened, but yeah, it's just the way the game is. Alright, so just a couple more animations, then we're good to go. So once again, just spam rolls because then they're slightly faster than running. Run out here, and here you have two choices. You can either just run over here and do the root jump again, or you can, which is slightly safer, is just grab this box, hold it somewhere in the middle here, and just jump up here. It's only a couple seconds slower than doing the root jump, but if you're consistent with the root jump, go for it. If not, then ignore it. I'm gonna go down here, grab this box, pull it over to this area, jump up, try to land on the lower path of the rocks there and get a roll into the cutscene again. Roll over to the sword piece and grab it. So far the fastest way of moving has been just rolling. As soon as we get the sword, we can do some weird cancelling. Just line up here and press X. Try to line up as close to this position as possible, because then you don't have to... Well, the game doesn't have to like move you into position. But as soon as we get the sword, we'll be able to do another little technique to speed up our movement. So, head towards the back to the forge here. One thing you might have noticed is that I press roll right as I land to prevent the character from doing like a hard fall, which is pretty slow. So yeah, just whenever I jump down somewhere, I just mash B and hope to get the roll cancel. It saves a decent amount of time over the course of an entire run. So, now we have our sword. And I'll go into the movement in a sec once we get out here. So the thing with the sword is that you can roll, you can attack, and then cancel the attack with a roll. So basically, this is normal rolling. So I'm gonna roll and then quickly press attack and then roll again. So what I do, I play on an Xbox controller, so I press X and B in quick succession. I just basically attack and then slide my finger over to B. So you can see you get just random like boosts in speed. So that's gonna be your for longer stretches of movement. Basically, this is gonna be your best way of moving around. So you want to alternate just regular roll, cancel, regular roll, cancel, regular roll, cancel, and that's gonna be your fastest way of moving. You can't really control when you do a cancel. You can't really control your direction after the fact. So you're pretty committed to the direction you hit. So there are a lot of situations where, like trying to turn corners, you would have to do a normal roll and then you want to do the cancel. So you start on here, just run down, cancel, slash these bushes. You can cancel that fall with a roll. Jump over to this shrine. We're collecting these shrines because we need 60 of whatever currency that little thing is, the little green balls. We need 60 of those to buy a very important ability later. Here you can either just jump over here and climb down the vines, or you can just jump diagonally. And hopefully you'll land around here and can try to go for a cancel, a roll cancel. And once again you can do this. So you roll in a straight. This is like a typical example of what I do in my runs over here. Like I roll diagonally and then I change direction and do the attack cancel. Climb over here. And here you also have a couple of different ways of doing things. I guess I'll start with the easiest one. You just grab the box and just move it over, and you can just make your way up here. It's basically the casual way. You can also drag the box over here and do some weird movement to like stick it in the corner here and jump directly over to the vines there. But it's honestly unnecessarily risky. I'll just leave the box here for now. The faster way of doing things is just to, once again, walking makes controlling weird collision easier. So I would say just walk on on top of this thing, so you get a little bit of height, and then jump towards the towards this thing. So I just get over here, spin around real quick. So I just run over here, walk for a sec, just spin my character like 180 degrees, and then I just pop up here. So what I would recommend, and it's really rather easy once you get the feel for it. Try not to hit that tree, not strats. Coming up on our first enemy, it takes 4 regular hits. Alternatively, it takes 2 like aerial hits where you jump and then you slash. But 4 regular hits are fine. Now we get to Punch Cave. For whatever reason, movement here can be kind of difficult, but try to get as many roll cancels in as possible, or attack cancels. Then just run up to the machine and sit through some more cutscenes. Alright, so now we have the punch ability. Unfortunately, we automatically trigger this checkpoint, so we can't just go to the menu and click respawn to go back to the start of the dungeon. But that's fine. For a little bit, this is just going to be all intended stuff. Unfortunately, we have to wait for the energy to fill back up. So here, you have a couple of different things you could do. You could either jump and smash this, and just climb down. So this would be the normal way of doing things. Do this and punch this thing, and then run over. You could also just jump from here. Just jump directly left, end up here, and then jump down right. Sorry, down left to get across. Skips the animation of, well, first of all, it skips having to trigger this thing, and it skips having to wait for the brass thing to spin around a little bit. One thing to note is that if you jump over here and break this wall, there is another money shrine here. I personally grab this in my runs because if I don't, the game has a tendency to sort of soft lock. So, I grab this, then I line up here, jump directly to the left, run up to this thing, and then down left to get over. So if you don't do that jump, then everything is fairly self-explanatory. You just hit the button on the brass thing, and run across. Because there will be a bridge and stuff. Here, make sure you climb high enough that you don't try to jump to the left too early, because then you'll just hit the side of the rock here, fall down and die, and because you haven't hit this checkpoint yet, you will respawn back in the room with the punch. So once you get out of this cave, just hold down left, roll, and then do an attack cancel. That will get you in perfect position to trigger this cutscene. Once again, the only purpose of this is to prevent the game, keep moving into the cutscene so the game doesn't take control of you and slowly walk you into position. Here the robot will insist on giving us a map and showing us things. Just mash B to get out of this. Then roll, cancel, and then punch. Make sure for this one, one important thing to note here is we need this teleporter for later. You need to be, I'd say the hitbox for it, like the trigger for it, is around here. This little box I'm walking. So just make sure you end up like across, like past this little curve, like around here, and then you should be fine. For this you have two very easy options. You either get some height from the checkpoint, and once again, walking is easier than running, so if you can run and jump, that's fine. But if you want to play a little bit safer, just walk for a sec, get up here, and you see where you're aiming for, like the side of the checkpoint. Then you just get a bunch of height. So just walk and jump up here, otherwise just do the intended stuff and just break the wall. Grab this shrine too. Just get your rolls and attack cancels going. As soon as you break this wall, don't do what I did. Don't roll, don't attack, don't jump. Just walk or run over here. Because if you... I'm going to show you now. You see my energy regenerating? If I jump, or if I roll, the bar stops regenerating. So, if you want to be as fast as possible, just chill out and walk over to that wall. Just climb these vines on the left side. And cancel to speed this up. Try to cancel this landing animation. These vines climb up. There's another shrine for you. Here, you can either climb down the vines, or you could just run diagonally down left. And you'll be fine. As long as you don't jump, you won't die. Here is a very minor thing. You can either just jump over this thing, over here, or you just do the normal thing. Let's just do rolls and attack cancels to go around. This is a very good way, or a very good place to practice your attack cancels. Here, you see a little... I'm just gonna... That's the wrong button. Here we go. I'm just gonna pause for a sec here. So you see in the top right, there's a bunch of little enemy dudes. And right in the middle of the screen, right around the middle of the screen, there's a money shrine. We really want that money shrine. So, the only thing to care about here, there are 4 enemies, and you see the one right next to the, between the bushes and the little pillar thing. That's the only guy that matters. The other 3 are asleep, and they won't bother you really. But if you aggro that guy, he will basically wake up everyone, and you won't be able to access the shrine. So, this is mostly luck. I feel like most of the time he won't bother you, but sometimes he might. So right now this is like awful position. I'm just gonna wait. So right now I should be fine. No, I'm not fine. So what you have to do, these guys take 2 hits. You can kind of chase them off like far enough so you can interact with the shrine, otherwise you just kill them. Again, he could be like anywhere, he could be like down here, he could be up here. But if he's very close to the shrine, you can either just wait for it or just attack everything and kill it. Come over here to this wall, break it, and go down to this shrine. To reiterate, again, we need 60 coins to buy an upgrade later. So right now I have 62. So I'm good. I am gonna grab another shrine just to show off where that is. Here there's a cutscene directly in front of me, so just stay close to the right and just don't go to the left here. Just drop down here and the cutscene will be skipped. It's like 10-15 seconds, I can remember. Something like that. So, as I mentioned before, in Punch Cave, I crushed a wall and grabbed a shrine. That's preference. For me, again, it prevents a softlock, which is good. Other people do not have that issue at all. This game is very, very strange and works very differently on different people's computers. If you didn't grab that shrine, just head down this hole and grab this shrine. And then you would have 62 coins, whatever they are, the green things, little orbs. And if you did go here, just climb up here, jump down here, and break this thing. If you did grab the shrine I grabbed, then you can just head over in this direction, directly for the hole. Jump and punch. Press the button. Try to line up directly in front of the where the battery drops. And then we're gonna do another skip to get into Warp Cave early. So push the button, run directly down, and then run directly up and just jump towards the button. It's not super precise. It's very easy. I try to jump around here. So I feel like, if you walk, you see I get a little bit of height from this rock. It's a lot of different ways to do this. But most of the time it's pretty straightforward. Just run straight and jump into it. So, Warp Cave can be kind of tricky. Let's jump over here, and I'm gonna walk off this ledge, so I grab it, press B to drop down, and then hold forward to... because if you just drop down, you die. So we're gonna hold forward to basically end up on the wheel. This is a pretty tricky strat, so it's gonna take some practice. Just hold forward and try to walk off on this side. Make sure not to run off, because then you'll just end up dying. What I do here personally is I just line up on the right side of this little curve I'm in, run to the left, and then just do a little curve, so I run to the left and then turn. Run to the left and then turn straight and then jump. So that's what I do, basically. It's hard to see because of the wheel, but yeah, again, this is what I do. Just left and then jump. You want to make sure you get like a running start, otherwise you're not going to jump far enough to make it. Here, I'd recommend just when you walk up on the up towards the machine, just let the animation of it like opening up complete. So now I would do something. Don't try to just like go up super fast and click it, because then more often than not you will, in my experience, you will soft lock. So yeah, just take your time a little bit. Now the main reason we do the weird jump we do to get here is that once this animation is done and we get our warp ability, you can press back to open the menu and click respawn. Since we haven't grabbed a checkpoint, we will just spawn by the entrance, which is very nice. Now we're gonna go spend our money, so we need to head back to the forge, or the shop, or whatever you want to call it. Once again, stay away from the, like, down left now. Just stay close to the edge here, because otherwise you trigger the cutscene we skipped earlier. Head into the teleporter, and teleport to the forge. Head inside and go over to the right to grab the thrust ability. Thrust ability is the second one. One thing to note here is if you start like mashing inputs too early, the game kind of buffers them, so if you press down like too early, you will end up getting automatically just pushed 2 steps down, and you start buying agility instead. So just take your time, just buy it. It's worth it to spend an extra second making sure you get the right ability, so you don't have to reset. There are still ways to, you don't have to use the thrust, but the thrust is a lot faster and a lot safer in many situations. So now we have thrust. If you run an attack, you do this thing, and this is going to be our main way of moving from now on, basically, and the main way we do a lot of the speed tech. So similar to how you can cancel out of a regular attack when you like roll and then do this, you can cancel out of a thrust. So you run, thrust, and cancel, and you see how far I end up going very fast, very far. This can also be used while jumping, so you can do something like this, and that's the biggest, that's the main speed tech in this game. So if I do a normal jump, I end up close to where the shadow stops there. If I do the same jump with the sword thrust, then I end up like over here. This allows us to go a lot of places we shouldn't be able to, much faster and much earlier than we're supposed to. So from now on, basic movement is going to be do thrust cancels as often as possible. So thrust cancel, roll cancel, and then roll cancel again if you want. So now you just basically play around and chain a bit of thrust, roll cancel, or attack cancel, and this is going to be the fast way of moving. So again, this is a very nice open area with no enemies, so you can just practice around if you want. The way I do the jumping part, which is going to be important right here, there are 2 ways to do basically thrust jumps, or long jumps as they're called. You can either just cancel the thrust with a jump, or you can cancel it with a roll and then a jump. For the latter, you just press X, of course, to do the thrust, and then press A and B at the same time. Otherwise, just press A. So for this is a kind of a strange jump, where you just line up like pretty much in this direction right here. Our goal is to jump over to those vines there, the area with the vines. So just jump, do the thrust, and then press I press A and B at the same time. It's just my preference. And there's only a couple, like 1 or 2 areas where I make sure to not use the A and B method. I just use A. Yeah, so just line up towards the bottom of this bush thing and just jump over here. It's another thing you will have to practice a bit. It's a bit finicky at first, but you get the feel for it. Alternatively, what you could do is use the punch instead of the thrust to achieve the same thing. It doesn't go as far as a long jump with the thrust. Okay, that was weird. That was fun. Yeah, I haven't done this in a while, so I can't remember the setup for it. The lineup. Basically, you would just do this, aim, punch, and then cancel the punch with a jump, and then you would go flying to the same spot. It takes a while longer to do because you have to charge up the punch, but sometimes it can be more consistent. So yeah, just head over here and we go to the desert. Try to grab this checkpoint. Here you can either do a long jump over here. You could do a long jump from up here. Or you can just do a regular jump up here. Just trust me, you can do that. I do the long jumps just because I like doing long jumps. Then do another long jump over to this button. Make sure to punch it. Otherwise you have to do the long jump again. And here we're going to jump over to the dome part. What I would say is try to line up with the shadow. Run in like the same direction as the shadow, the same line. Then do another thrust jump. And you'll end up over here. This is another case where you could stop at the edge, use a punch, a charge punch, and then do the jump over. But once again, the long jumps aren't too bad. This is where the hold to grab option that I mentioned at the very beginning comes into play. Right now I can just press X once and I can move this thing around. If you have hold to grab on, then you would have to hold X all the time. So it's, for this stuff, it's nice to just have to press once and you can just relax your hand for a little bit. Pull it over, punch this little button, play it safe here. And these little pegs. And once again, I can just press X once and then I can pull. As soon as we pull this to its like final position where it where the lever part stops going up, you can just mash a punch to cancel the celebration animation you do after, or not the celebration, but the little forced animation. So I just grabbed here, and now I start like mashing Y. There we go. And now we can move during that little sequence instead of having to stand still and watch what's happening. Same thing for this one. Just press. There we go. And now we can move during the cutscene. There is one strat here. I'm not going to go into details about this because it's not a great strat. But you can basically line up and do a long jump from here directly over to the little thing you're supposed to pull there. I'm not even going to show it off. It's not a great strat and it's very risky. It does save about 12 seconds, which is very nice. But most of the time it's not going to be worth it. Just going to make sure this guy doesn't bother me. So what you would normally do is, right after you skip the, again, do the punch to make sure you're not stuck here. Just roll over here, down the ladder, and push this thing into position. Don't have to push it quite that far, but it's not a big deal. And then just run over and pull this little thing normally. And here you can either just drop down and run back to where you started out, or you can respawn. And you'll just spawn by the checkpoint. They're about the same speed, so it really doesn't matter. The advantage to doing the respawn is that you get full health. When you do the first long jump on the right side here, that I will do again in a little bit, you tend to lose 1 health. Because you get hit by the little purple or corruption plant things. So so this one is safer because you get some more health. But if you do the other one, just run over here, come up to this level and just do a long jump over here. And you can just climb up the ladder that we punched down earlier. Run over here, pull this peg, and then again, with the same angle as before, just do another long jump over here. If you fall down, it's not a big deal, just run over to the ladder and climb up. Go and push the button, and then try to line up around here. You can just hold forward and run. And as soon as possible, you just pop over. Punch this, and punch a third time. There's some timing to the punches there. If you do them too fast, then they won't register. As soon as we get control here, just run off. Again, try to get cancels, roll cancels. This is one of the cases where you actually, even though you have hold to grab off, you can't just click. You have to actually hold down the X button all the time. Push these two guys in. Again, try to get some thrust off where you feel comfortable. And here, you can do 2 different things. Once you push that all the way in, you can either just line up on this like brass part and just run and jump over, do a regular jump. Or you could just stand on the edge of this and just ride it over. just line up here and jump. You'll grab the edge. Or you'll just line up on this thing and just wait the extra 2 seconds. Push this button, and then a really long animation starts, so you don't really have anything to do. What you can actually do here if you want is just jump off or click respawn. Because the animation, this animation keeps happening even if you die. Assuming you've pushed a button. So if you want to regain some health or something, if you only have 1 health, then you can suicide if you want. Here, as soon as this lights up, you can press right bumper to go zoom zoom. And now we get to an interesting part. There are basically 3 different ways of doing this. And they all have various... I'm not going to say various issues, but various advantages, I guess. First thing to do here is just run off and just drop down here. You'll be fine. And I guess I'll start with the most beginner-friendly option. It would just be run over here and try to line up with the shadow here. And you could just do a regular jump. And you'll end up down here. Run over here. And then what you can do is just jump diagonally, like along this wall. And grab onto this. Grab on or just land like I did. Climb up here and pull the lever. Alternatively, what you could do is instead of lining up with the shadow, lining up with the shadow is very easy, but what you could do is line up here instead, jump diagonally, and drop down. Slightly faster, but still not a big deal. And lastly, the riskier strat that is slightly faster than the other 2 is just called RBPS, which is short for really bad pipe skip, which involves getting onto this little ledge right here, jumping over to this ledge, and then doing a long jump over to directly where the lever is. You can either jump onto the little ledge from here, or you can use the height you get from this little curve to get up here. It won't be very easy to see from here, but you want to line up and try to do a long jump in the direction, well, just down left. And now we're going to do a long jump in this direction that I'm facing. So what we need to do is we need some area to get the sprint off. So just walk up on top of that thing and try not to fall down. So walk up here and then start running and then tilt down. This is kind of unusual. Normally this wouldn't work when you land or when you hit the pillar. I was lucky that I got enough distance and enough height to land and grab here. Normally we'll just bonk into the pillar and fall to your death. What can happen as well is you can go too far up here. You can land on this side of the pillar, like the top side of the pillar, and that's completely fine. You can also land down here, and that's completely fine. You can also go, like I said, you can hit the pillar and just fall to your death. You can go too high and fall to your death, and you can go too low and fall to your death. So it's a riskier strat, but if you're feeling gutsy, then go for it. No matter what strat you go for, grab the lever and push it all the way to the left. Don't try to be fancy about pushing things. You just pick a direction and just hold that direction all the time. So even though this kind of curves, don't try to like compensate for that and curve your input. It just doesn't work out well. Just grab it on the right side, hold directly left, and don't touch anything else. Drop down here. You can do a slash if you want to, and just climb up the ladder. And once again, these things you need to actually hold, even if you've set your settings to hold to grab off. Slow cutscene. As soon as that thing moves into position, we get in control again. Turn over and push the button. This is another opportunity to regain some health if you want. So you can either just open the menu and click respawn to spawn back at the top to get all your health back, and it's only like a second slower. Depending on your death and spawn animations, it's only like a second or two slower than running over here, climbing all the way up, and then just making your way over to the button and pushing it. Once again, try to line up directly in front of the button like this. If you press it here, he will like slowly walk over and then push the button. And same thing here, you can just jump off and kill yourself if you want to gain some health. For whatever reason. Here, soon hold down and sprint like before you even get to the final area, and you will be able to just run over here and make this cycle. If you make this cycle, then you can just chill out and not have to stress out about anything. The point of this is just to make this upcoming, like, I don't even know what to call it, the platform cycle. These little floating platforms. Like right now, there's no, you can see like even if we arrived here like 5 seconds earlier, there's no benefit to it because we still have to wait for this platform. So this allows us to just take our time and not stress out about anything. So again, there's no reason to do anything fancy, just try to make sure you make the first cycle. If not, you'll just have to wait a little bit. Alright, and now we're coming up on the second major skip of factory. It's another good place to practice your movement. Over here and push this button. It's gonna spawn even more platforms. And we're just gonna jump to the little ladder you can see in the middle of the screen, or towards the back of the screen I should say. So here, just jump over here, and once this platform stops, just run off, hold directly up. I'll do that a couple times, just to show you. It's not super precise, but it might take some getting used to. But I find that if you just don't freak out, play it safe, then it's gonna be fun. So yeah, just jump off here as soon as possible over here, line up with the little edge here, and as soon as it stops you can just hold directly up and run off. No need to jump, no nothing. Let's get over here. Again, this is a situation where you can either hold and use the punch to jump over to that section, or you can just run down and you'll end up here. You can end up like anywhere in this area depending on how good your angle is. But yeah, the trick is just to run off the little like top ledge down to the little brass orangey part, and then do your thrust. If you do your thrust too early, then you won't have a good time. It will be bad news. For this thing, you have to wait for it to spin all the way around. And then we grab our first keystone. That was unintentional, but that's fun. There you can just jump up. You don't even have to do the ladder. And you can do one last thrust cancel to get directly over to the button. And that's factory. So as you get to the top here, you can do a long jump and try to get a roll cancel up to the big whatever this is machine thing. Now we're gonna skip some parts of the forest and head straight to the mother Sprite. So head over to the left here, to this little platform thing, and get a sprint going and get a long jump going to just get over here. There's a bunch of different ways to get this, but it's all in essence the same. It's just gonna look a little bit different depending on what you end up doing. It's like that one was better because I didn't go to climbing animation, but that's it. Just head over here and long jump over here. Coming up is gonna be two big lanky ass guys, and with the clubs they take a bunch of hits. I think they have 7 health. A normal slash deals 1 health, and a jump slash deals 2 health of damage, and finally a thrust deals 3 health. So you either need to just whack at them 7 times with regular attacks, or you try to line up to do a total of 5 attacks. No, sorry, 6 attacks on them. So you do 2 thrusts and 1 basic attack on each of them. What can be kind of annoying here is that they can do anywhere from 1 to 4 attacks, like swings with their club, when they try to attack you. And in addition to that, you have the little bug dudes that you can see on the top of the screen, on that little ledge. They shoot like blue stuff at you, and if you're not careful you can die very easily in this fight. The cool thing about the bugs is that if you're lucky they shoot the big dudes and they actually deal damage, so maybe you'll get lucky and you can skip out on an attack and stuff. So yeah, basically what I would recommend doing is do 2 thrusts and 1 basic attack on each of them. So just line up, thrust, roll out of the way, thrust again, and then since it just worked out I didn't know the thrust. Okay, so these guys are being very nice to me and not attacking at all. So you can see I was 1 attack short on that last guy, but one of the bugs helped me out, so that's very nice. Run over to this area, make sure you get this checkpoint, it's going to be very important later. Just head inside this room. So this room can be kind of tricky, but again, just take your time and make sure you get and do things right. Don't try to be too fancy, it's not worth it. Here, just climb up, wait for this thing on the right to spin around. Go over and grab this thing. Here there's 2 different things you could do. You could either do warp really early on, right now, and you can warp directly to the edge here, but it's kind of risky because sometimes it just doesn't work. Try to hurry up here. If you're on the first cycle, then you'll make this thing perfectly. You can just jump over here, climb up the ladder, and here you can either wait for this thing to spin around and just climb up the ladder. You can do a long jump off one of these little things that are sticking out, or you could just do a warp like that, directly onto the ladder. So whichever you prefer. Just play around with all of them and see what you like. Slash this thing, and now we go save Mother. So this is our first corruption we're gonna clear, and since you can move around during these corruptions, it could be worth it to just try to line up correctly, like in where, like whatever spot your character will move to do the attack. So yeah, just you have nothing else to do, so you might as well just, if you can be bothered, try to learn where the different positions are and move as close to that spot as possible. Will save you for a few frames. Now we just gotta sit through a bunch of cutscenes again. There's nothing we can do. And this is where I usually start mashing X, so I trigger the picking up of the keystone as fast as possible. Get the map forced open. Close it, run over here, punch this button. This button is very important to punch. You can make it down here in other ways, but just punch that button and run down. It's better, trust me. There's a weird invisible wall here. You might have been able to see there. There's a for whatever reason, this like tunnel is very, very strange when it comes to collision. That's just something to be aware of. Head over here, do a long jump over this gap, and then run up here. You can let go of your run trigger if you're not feeling super confident here. And you can see, hopefully you can see fine, the, yeah, it's not better when I pause, I'm sorry. This is like the edge of the little piece of land I'm standing on. Just jump directly up. Try to land up like pretty far to the left, but of course not far enough that you just slide off. And then you can just run around here. Break these two bushes and go up here. If you're just starting out, I would recommend going a little bit up here to grab this checkpoint right here. Then you head over here. On the other side of this gate, down below, there's a cutscene, and there are a couple of ways of skipping it, but what we're going to do is just get on top of the gate and just roll off. The easiest way of doing it is just run into like this little part right here, and just drop down on top of it, roll down, and then roll along the left side, but I'll show you that in a sec. Alternatively, what's slightly faster is just get a running start up here and just do a long jump over there. So drop down here, roll, and just stay along the left side. Now you're fine. You skip that cutscene. Make your way over here and do your second corruption. Once again, lining up isn't super important, but you have nothing better to do, so you might as well do your best. I did not do a good job. Okay, so for this, try to do a long jump right away, cancel it with a roll, and then do 2 slashes. Now you see I didn't do the little celebration animation, and that's really, really good. The reason it's really, really good is because we can then move earlier, and we can make it further before this map screen opens up. This will open up no matter what. So yeah, you can just, again, thrust jump. I'll just do it again. The basic moves. So just thrust jump, try to get a roll, 2 slashes, and now you will cancel it. That's with the timing. That's how it works. You saw I actually canceled it even though I got the hard fall just by doing 2 slashes. That's how you can basically save it. So while the music is still playing and you're waiting for the map screen to open, you can just head through here. As soon as you, that's also worth noting, as soon as you clear a corruption, it no longer hurts you. So you can just move, even though you're moving through purple stuff, you can just keep going. So ideally, the music is still playing and we're waiting for the map screen. Make sure to move fast through here or you get zapped by the things. And you can actually make it to the ladder before the map screen opens. It's not a huge deal, but it's worth noting. Climb up and run over here. No need to jump or anything here, just do regular running. Climb all the way to the top, and we're gonna jump diagonally in this direction onto the trees. On the trees right here, there's an invisible wall. Run over, and what you can do here is just run upright and just mash A. And when you're ready, basically, when the game decides that you can jump, you'll just jump and land perfectly right by this checkpoint. It's a very simple trick, so just get used to where the invisible walls are. Get over here and ride this thing. From here, there are 2 ways to do this next section, where we move to the Sprite graveyard, or not the Sprite graveyard, the robot graveyard, or junkyard over here, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to show you the riskier but slightly faster strat first, because it's right here, and then I'll do the regular, or the slightly slower but slightly more intended way after. So, only do this if you're really confident in it. If you're not, then don't bother. So here we want to jump over to this little pillar thing right here. So we, of course, want to do a long jump, line up and do a long jump, and you grab it. The problem with this strat, it saves about 20 seconds. The problem with this strat is that sometimes it just won't work. Sometimes the game decides that it just won't work. And what will happen is that when you do a long jump, that was a really bad long jump, but when you do a long jump, even if you do it perfectly, you still won't, your character would just refuse to grab the edge of this, and that's bad. So, how to fix that is just go to your menu, press respawn, and then hope for the best. Again, it's riskier to do this strat, but it saves a little bit of time. If you get it, and if this is what you're going for, then just make your way up here, past these guys, over here, and now we're by this ladder. I'll now respawn and do the other strat to show where these two paths meet up. They meet up by the ladder, so that's one of them. Just go up here and do a long jump over to that pillar. Otherwise, just head over in this direction. You can start moving fairly soon after this little scene starts, and you can move while the camera is locked. So you can just see yourself moving in the background. Get used to the pathing here and you'll be completely fine. If you're not kind of careful, you can get stabbed by the big plant dudes, the little tentacle things, and very easily get killed. But it's not too bad. It's pretty lenient. So once you get here, just long jump, or actually normal jump over here too. That works. And just run up here. And then we get to the ladder from before. So again, this is where the two routes meet up. Make our way over here. Stab this little thing. These enemies are really, really, really dangerous. These two guys right here, there should be two, I already triggered one. These two guys aren't terribly dangerous, but in general they're terrible enemies, as I'm sure you know if you've done a casual playthrough of this. Here you can either slide down the ladder, or you could actually just walk off the edge right here, and you'll be fine. But yeah, just slide down the ladder. It's nice and safe. Once you finish this, just run over to the edge and jump. That's one of the cases where you can actually take damage if you move too fast. So you wanna... I'll just do that again. If I can remember how to get up here. Walking on these things, again, collision is very strange in this game. So walking on these can be really difficult. I actually just can't. I would have to go around. I'm not gonna bother. Just run and jump off the edge. Try to get a cancel, and then again two slashes will do you fine to skip the celebration. Get down here. And head over here. Right here, just hold... Try to line up with this like little pillar thing that sticks out. Hold up left. And try to grab on to climb up here. Hold up left till you just run into this corner. Just jump and you can walk around here. Punch this button. Punching this button is very, very important. And here you can either... See, the camera freaks out a little bit. You can either slide down the ladder you just created, or you can just walk off the edge here. And then I like to do a sword attack just to get down fast. And then open the door. And then when we enter Warp Cave. I mean Grapple Cave. So, Grapple Cave. There are basically two ways of doing this. You can either do it the first half of it the casual way, and then just backtrack your way out of things, which involves just going down here on these little spinny things, waiting for this thing to spin around, and then go over and grabbing the grapple. So yeah. And then after you grab the grapple, you would just do the exact same thing backwards. Just climb back up and climb back out. Which is why it's important that we punch the button outside, because otherwise we have no way of getting up and we're essentially soft locked. Because the way things work out, we don't pull the little thing that, or activate the little thing that raises and lowers the world around us. So even if we did this the intended way and grappled our way out towards the right, you can see in the background, and exited the intended way, we still wouldn't be able to get up, so we would again be soft locked. If you want to be slightly more fancy about it and go faster, instead of just going down here and then walking back out, you can do the whole thing kind of backwards. So you jump off here. It's kind of a precise jump, but it's not too bad. Jump over to this section. Jump and attack, or like slash or punch, like this, to get off. Do not walk off, so you grab the ledge and then press B. What can happen then is randomly the game basically doesn't like things that can move, so the game can just randomly just fling you in a random direction and kill you. So just jump off and attack or punch. Get down here, and here you can either line up a thrust, a long jump, right here. Again, mess around with the angles and stuff yourself, or you can jump off right here. I usually like to jump off and grab this. So you, it's kind of precise, but it's nice. It saves like 15 seconds if you do everything right. The important thing here is that you don't end up too far to the left, because then you trigger that checkpoint. So now I can actually sneak by the checkpoint. If you do trigger the checkpoint, then you have to backtrack out of the cave. If you do not trigger the checkpoint, then you could do the same thing we do in Warp Cave. Just go to the menu and select respawn, and you'll spawn by the right by the entrance. And we'll spawn back up here. Warp Cave is pretty difficult, so just play around with it, practice it, and you'll get used to it. Also, getting onto these vines can be kind of wonky. And apologies if I keep saying Warp Cave instead of Grapple Cave and stuff like that. Get very confused. Either way, climb back up and do a little jump here to get up. And here you can either just walk along the edge here and make your way up, or you can use your new grapple ability to just jump off and grapple over here. As always, get your thrusts going, get your attack cancels going. Just try to move as fast as possible. Then we get our third keystone. Then we head over to the harder part of this run. Say the last 15-20 minutes of this run. It's by far the most difficult part. Most notably the water section, the water temple, whatever you want to call it. So again, you get forced into that map screen. Just exit out as soon as you can. For this edge, for whatever reason, you don't have to jump or climb or anything. You can just walk, and you'll just walk up it. So don't try to do anything fancy there. Here, just jump or long jump off the edge there. Make sure to avoid these guys, because they deal 2 damage, which is pretty bad. If you do take damage, there's a bunch of grass here, so you can get your health back really easily. And now we get to water. For water, I'm going to show you 3 different ways. Yeah, 3 different ways to enter water. There is a 4th one, but it's dumb. It's as slow or as fast, depending on how you look at it, as doing the intended strat, and it doesn't have the advantage of doing the intended strat. So first of all, run down here and grab the checkpoint. It's absolutely worth taking the extra 2 or 3 seconds to do that, just for safety. And let's start with the, I guess the closest to intended strat. Jump off here and grapple back. You can play this safe by just dropping down here, grabbing these vines, and then grappling up. But the alternative is not difficult at all. Just run off here. The only thing you gotta do is jump like down right, and then in midair change your angle on your stick to up left. Down right, up left, and then just grapple on here. Now just do a long jump over the corruption and the bushes. You can either do it like really far to the right, like this, and just jump to get out. Or you can aim more up, which is riskier, but you'll land directly here and not get stuck on the bushes. So, first of the 3 strats is to grab the box and just pull it all the way to where it's supposed to go. I haven't done this in a long time, so I actually messed up there. You should go over here and clean out all the bushes first, because the animation of grabbing and releasing the box is very slow. So, grab the bushes, kill all the bushes first, and then drag the box over. It's also something to try to avoid. Keep moving while you're moving the box. Don't stop, because if you let go like this, the startup animation is very slow. So yeah, what you would do is just plug that in. And here, don't press RB to warp right when the pad lights up. Look at the other pad at the end of, towards the back of the screen. When that lights up, you can do it. If you do it too early, you'll just warp off. So, like this, and then you warp over. Then enter water. The second strat, which I would put, like moving the box is clearly the easiest strat. This I would consider the next easiest. The middle one. Just swim over to this thing and pull up this little floaty bit. And this is actually also pretty easy, and it's about 20 seconds faster than moving the box. So here you want to do a long jump down. So put a line up here and just do a long jump straight down. You can like climb up over here or all the way over here. The only thing that can mess you up here is if you're too far to the right, like go diagonally too much. Once you get here, just do a long jump in like this direction. It's kind of hard to show, but in this direction. You want to make sure you're not too close to the wall, because then you'll bonk and just fall. And you want to make sure you're not like your angle is not too far down, because then you'll just fall off. Just do a long jump here, and then you're good to go. So the final and fastest method of getting into water. For that, we will go over to the same place where we did the box jump. Also, this is a variation, or the variation where you go straight up on the long jump instead of like diagonally. There will be this little guy right here. Of course, now it's dead, but he will die to just one thrust. So just kill that guy off if you want some safety. And what we want to do here, what we want to achieve, is to get on top of that little brass pipe thing on the side. Well, big pipe thing, actually. And this jump, the first part is definitely the hardest. This jump is really precise. If you go too far to the right, then you will just fall down and die. And if you go too far to the left, you will hit the little branches, or not branches, the roots of the tree. You can see the little brown parts, and you will just bonk and end up down here and have to walk back up and try again. So the angle is pretty weird and finicky, very precise. But what you want to do is just, again, I'm probably gonna fail this a couple times, but yeah, just get on top here. And once you do, just run straight up and make sure you get, like, you run long enough to get the thrust off and just do a long jump directly up. And you will end up over here, which is the same spot you ended up if you did the pad. And here, again, do the same jump, just a long jump to get up here. And now we enter water. So water is probably the hardest section of the game, especially to pick up and learn. We basically have two different ways to do the first half, and then two different ways to do the second half. Let's go through the easier part first, or not necessarily the easier part, but the part you'll most often see, I guess. Just going up here over these pipes and just walk over those pipes, and you end up on these. And you want to line up by the bottom of this like seam, jump to the right, get on top of this invisible wall and get up here. And from here you will just do, well, just jump or do a long jump or something to get over there. If you fall down for whatever reason, like fall down here, then just run down here. And from here you gotta do a pretty precise long jump in this direction, to the right. So just do a little bit of a curve. And then do it. And then another long jump to get up here. Then finally you climb up here. So if you make it all the way on the invisible walls and stuff, and do your long jump or your jump, you will end up here, climb up, and then go over here, and then you're back at the same spot. The other strat... There we go. The other strat, instead of going up these stairs, you go over here and once again use the collision to your advantage. So you see if I walk slowly here, I get a bunch of height. So you just get height and jump on top of this little, whatever it is, jar thing. And just get over here and once again do the same long jump. This long jump is pretty tight, pretty tricky, so just practice it a little bit if you need to. Okay, so from here on there are another two strats. One is about 10 seconds faster than the other, but considerably more risky. So let's do that one first. So you would just head over across this pipe and over here. I'm gonna grab this checkpoint for safety. Normally you would make a point of skipping it because it's important for the concept of the strat. Make your way up here, jump diagonally, end up on top of these the invisible walls above these pipes. Just walk all over here. If you walk instead of running, if you happen to walk off the edge of the invisible wall, you just drop down and grab it, so you can just climb back up. If you run, you'll just fly off. Here, just stop and do a stationary jump, so stand still and then jump to the right. Otherwise you might slide off the pipe and end up in the purple goo, and that's bad. And you can see there's another checkpoint down there that we skip. Then we get this, do a long jump over here, and try to line up where the last shadow here starts. So right around here, between this thing and where the shadow starts. Right around here, just walk off and drop down here. So basically what you're doing is, you would normally die from the fall, but because of the way we did things, we kind of cancel the fall damage basically, so we reset it and then we can survive the fall. It's kind of risky, but the beautiful thing about this is that we skip the checkpoint in this direction where I'm facing, skip the last checkpoint, which means after we clear the corruption, we can just go to respawn and we'll spawn all the way back at the beginning of the dungeon. In this case I did grab this for safety, because I'm gonna do the other strats. But yeah, if if I made a point to avoid that checkpoint like you're supposed to, if you're going for this strat, then I would just spawn back at the very first checkpoints. There we go. When you can see over there, kind of, by the stairs. So, the safer strat, it's about 10 seconds slower, but it's way safer and it looks way cooler. It's to do something called a grapple storage. Grapple storage is basically you grapple, connect to a grapple point, and then you cancel the grapple with a punch. So you can do this really fast or really slow. You can do like grapple and then start holding to get it, and you can see now even if I move away from the grapple point, it's still active. That's the safe way and the slow way of doing things, but it's really easy to just line up with the grapple point and just in quick succession press LB and then Y. There we go. So what this does is it allows us to return to that point really easily from anywhere in the dungeon, which means we don't have to be careful about avoiding checkpoints, and we can do like way safer stuff. So I can grab this checkpoint, it doesn't matter. I mean, we already have that checkpoint. But yeah, the basic route, the basic path is the same as the other one, but you don't have to be as risky with things. So again, you would make your way up here, slice this thing, wapam, then just drop down here. And now we don't have to worry about getting this checkpoint. That's the checkpoint we wanted to avoid earlier. And now, because our prompt to use the grapple is just stuck there, we will never get the prompt to actually press X here. But you just learn the timing and you'll be fine. Yeah, and as soon as you do this, just start holding left bumper now. And you just go zoom. Right through it, back to the start. Get a little celebration. Haven't found a way to skip that yet. Just get in the water and swim back out. So, again, if you didn't do the grapple method and you made sure to avoid all the checkpoints, after clearing the corruption, you would just end up here. Make your way up here, and just leave water. So, when exiting water, there's one thing to note, which is that if you move the box while entering or before entering, you will be able to use this warp pad to just warp across and run to the left past the bushes and stuff. If you didn't move the box, then you have to use the collision to your advantage again to get up onto this ledge. Once again, it's easier if you walk than run, but it's really not very difficult. Get across here, and then you're good to go. And this is where you would meet up with the other route if you did the warp. Here, just do a regular long jump directly down, and then another one right here. So very simple. This section can be kind of stressful because of these guys. I'm just gonna move pretty fast just to get rid of them. There we go. So this is what you want to do. Just do a long jump from here over to this section and free the sprite. In theory, you're fine just standing here. The exploded dudes aren't supposed to be able to get up here, but sometimes for whatever reason they just get a little bit of boost or something and just pop up here and just murder you. So it's usually safer just to play it to do it fast. Get up here and free this guy. Now there's a third and last little exploded dude. You could either just jump towards him and cancel your fall with a roll. But if you don't get the roll cancelled, then you're pretty screwed. If you want to play it really safe, you can just jump around here. If he notices you like this, he'll just explode on his own. And if not, just drop down and try to boost past him. You can also use the purple plant thing to kill him. That works fine too. If you want to play it safe and a bit slower, just run down here, jump over to this pipe, climb up to the top, and go down the vines and make your way through the pipe to the grapple point on the other side of the pipe. Not sure why I couldn't climb up there, but that's fine. The faster way of doing things, the only way I'm going to show off, is to get here and jump in this direction. Either do a regular jump or do a warp over here. I find the warp safer. It seems to give you a bit more leeway. The problem with the warp, or the only disadvantage to the warp, I guess, is that you drain your entire energy bar. And when you have an empty energy bar, it's like all gray and stuff, and you can see there's little notches on it. To use a grapple, which we're going to use in a sec, to use a grapple you need your bar to be filled at least to the second notch. Otherwise the grapple will just not go off at all and you'll just fall to your death. So, if you do use the warp, once you climb up here, just take an extra second and just make sure you have enough energy to actually do the grapple. Speaking of which, all we're gonna do is just jump off to the left, sorry, the right, and just grapple when the prompt appears. It seems really scary, but it's really not as tight as it looks, so don't be intimidated. For this, we're of course gonna go for another celebration cancel, so do a long jump, try to cancel with the roll, and then do 2 slashes like before. I missed the roll there, so it's so I couldn't get it really. Also, this is what I was talking about, where the purple stuff doesn't actually hurt you after you cleared the corruption. Make your way back up here after you've done everything, and line up not quite in the middle, but like slightly to the right, and do a long jump to get here. This is where I would recommend not doing the method where you cancel, or you do the long jump with both A and B at the same time. Just use A. The reason for this is that there's a pipe below me, right here, and if you use A and B at the same time, you go too far left, you'll miss this rock and you'll fly directly over the pipe and just fall to your death. If you just use A, then you won't go quite as far and you'll just land on the pipe safely, and you can just climb up these ladders. So now, just keep moving, and we're gonna make our way down back to the dome, and then to the desert. Movement here can be kind of iffy because there are bushes and little animals and stuff. There's a lot of things that want to get in your way. Let's drop down here. This section of the plants, for whatever reason, doesn't have collision or hurt boxes, which is very nice. And now to make our way up to this ladder, what we're going to do is just hold directly up and run into this corner. So you see them on like vibrating and stuff. Just jam yourself into this corner between the rock on the left and the wall on the right. And just make sure you walk in and not run to the left, and you'll see the moment I start running, or walking, sorry, I just get a bunch of height. I'll just do it again. See, my character just pops up a little bit. That's what you're gonna use. So yeah, just walk to the left and just jump immediately. It's a very simple trick. Get in the water and get to this part. If you're low on health here, I would recommend just farming a little bit of health here, either by killing the big monster or by just slicing through some grass here to get some health. I would recommend having at least 2 or 3 health here. Well, at least 2 health. Sorry. The reason being that the next enemies we're gonna come up on are the boomerang dudes that can really easily just snipe you and deal a ton of damage. So there are 2 of them right here. I'm actually happy I hit the edge there. Yeah, those guys can really easily damage you. And again, if you lose some health and you're not very confident in your ability to dodge the next guy, the next guy deals 2 damage, so just, if you're not confident, just farm up some health here too. There we go, that's the guy. You can normally just dash past him and just dodge. And even if he stabs at you, you can just roll out of the way. It's really not a big deal. The only thing that can be kind of scary about that guy is if he lines up on the middle of the thinnest part of the little bridge. In that case, you can actually just jump over or like around him. So it really shouldn't be a big deal. Here, either run down the steps or just do a long jump over here. Free the Sprite. And once you do, you're really not in a hurry. You could just take your time going down here. Because this animation, to make it all the way down here, is really, really long. So just don't try anything fancy. Don't worry about it. Because there's honestly no way to speed this up. It'll take as long as it takes, no matter what. With this celebration skip, we're just gonna run over to this, jump up, and then walk the rest of the way. Sorry, run the rest of the way, and then do one slash. So again, don't jump up here, don't do anything fancy, because then you get long animations. And you won't be able to do the skip. So yeah, just jump up to this part, and then run along the outside till you get like up here, and then do one slash, and then you're fine. You should be able to skip the celebration. For this, we're gonna jump over to the little curvy part, the brass curvy part. This is another case where I absolutely urge you to not use the A and B method for doing your long jump. Just use A. If you use A and B, you might get too much speed or too much distance. You'll bonk your head on the top of the curve, and it's just harder to deal with in general. Once you get over there, I'm just gonna explain it right away because it's easier that way. Once you get over there, you have two choices. You can either play it safe and just jump up, climb on top of the Titan. Alternatively, if you feel a little bit more risky, you could just jump to the right and just run along the curve of the Titan and or Colossus, and just slide down so you're right by the opening to the little cave thing. So just run for a bit and then just jump and climb up here. This is the safest, and it's only a little bit slower than the alternative, which would have you end up out here. So you'd basically just run around the top of the screen right now. You would just run around to the right and just slide down and end up around here. Grab this core, and then just go to the menu and select respawn. Once you respawn, just head to the right, and get in this teleporter and teleport back to the forge or shop or whatever you want to call it. Now we're gonna make our way to the final corruption, and there are two paths to take. I'm just gonna grab this checkpoint. Two paths to take. You can either go back down here where we went originally to go to this shrine and just grapple your way up here and climb all the way up here. Alternatively, what you can do is from the teleporter just jump up here, make your way over here, and just you can walk along the side here a little bit. So get some speed and do a long jump over here. Jump down here. Again, this is a pretty easy movement. Just make your way over here. Now this next section is actually pretty tricky. Once you get comfortable with it, it's really easy. But until then, it's really, really difficult. So I'm gonna try my best to explain the lineups and stuff. I'll just jump down here, run, jump, and grapple. So basically just keep running and jump at a specific spot to get high enough to grab the... Because if you just stand here, you get the prompt for the thing. You have a little bit of an area where you get the prompt for the grapple point, but it can be really like tricky to get there, or like wonky. So what you can do is just run down here and jump. And jumping seems to make the window where you can grab the timing window way, or considerably longer. So yeah, you basically just run down here, just ignore everything, jump, and then grapple. So I jump around well, I mean, you can see where I'm jumping, but right around here I jump. So straight down, jump, and grapple. If you're lucky, you'll trigger 3 of the exploded dudes. In this case, I just got 2. That's not a big deal. Head over here, jump off, and hold. As soon as you jump off or jump down, just hold the stick to the right, and you'll be ready to grapple that point. Chop down this thing, and then do a long jump off to get back. If you don't want to do the long jump, then just go back down the same way you came, and yeah, just make your way over to the pole and grapple. I guess that also goes for the previous strats where I jumped here. If you don't want to do that, just drop down from this thing, trigger one of them, climb back up, and just stay up here until it explodes, and just do one at a time. Just take your time. So now there should be 1 or 2 guys left. I'll just trigger this guy, and I like to dash through the purple part because that kills them. Again, just take your time here. It's way better. And there's 1 more guy, but I think we can avoid him. So this is a little bit risky, but not really. So as long as the exploding guy doesn't walk close enough to see us here, we should be fine. And as long as you manage to get the attack off on the on this guy to clear the corruption, then you're also fine. So just do this. And now to get back, just open the menu, respawn, and you'll be back by the teleporter. And what you can do here, if you're risky, you can go here first, and then as soon as you get out of the teleporter, when you go here, just go back into the teleporter and then go here. What this is going to allow you to do is skip a checkpoint and just spawn directly here, which is where you're going later on. It does save a decent bit of time, but it's risky. So when you get here, just make your way over here, climb onto this little ledge, and then make your way up here. Fairly easy climbing. And go up the ladder. This is why the ladder was important before. Trigger this little cutscene. And here you can just mash X to pick up the core as fast as possible. And then you get a bunch of map prompts. This save only gets me 2. But you normally get 6 or 7. Again, if you were risky and went here first, then you would just go over here and attempt to do the jump towards Forest Colossus. But for the sake of safety, grab this checkpoint. Also, if you're not doing the risky strat, grab the checkpoint right there. What we're gonna do here is do a long jump. Again, in like this direction, and you'll notice that towards the end of my long jump, I'll do this, just the little punch thing. That's because sometimes the game can get confused, and even though you survive the fall, the game registers that you should have died, so it just respawns you anyway. So yeah, let's do a long jump. And a punch towards the end to cancel that. And then run to the left to drop down to this level. From here you have 2 options. You can either run straight up here and go through these, go down here and through the little trench thing, or you can do a riskier, slightly, or not riskier really, but slightly faster strat, which is try to get a long jump over here. If you miss that long jump, then you still end up down here. So just show you where to go here. Just make your way along the side, climb this, and then grapple up. If you do the long jump and end up over here, then you just walk around and jump around until you find the grapple point. The trigger for it. The long jump from from Mama is pretty difficult, so you just need to practice it a bunch. And you'll get a feel for it. So after we grab the core, we just respawn, as usual. And what would normally happen is, well, I shouldn't say normally. Normally it will end up here. But if you played it riskier, then of course if you went up here, you would just spawn there. If you didn't go for the riskier strat, then just go down here. You can just run off here and hit a little ledge and then drop down. That's one way of doing things. Alternatively, of course, you could go for the ladder again, but that's pretty slow. The other alternative is to just run and jump to the left here, and you'll grab these vines. Either way, make your way into the teleporter, and make a way up here. From here you can either just run along the ground and run up this leg, like this, or you can do those two long jumps that I did. I just do them because, I don't know, you have nothing else to do really, so. Just adding some flair. Yep, just get over to the robot, or the machine, and input all the cores. For this section you can't actually attack with your sword, so you can just mash X as much as you want. Once that thing closes, just run up to the right, push the button. And here, a couple things can happen. The robot could appear and just push the button. Normally, the robot can push the button while he's sitting down. Or he might, like this time, might not appear at all. Whatever the case, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't make any difference. The end of this run is pretty, like the last segment is fairly slow and boring. Make sure to not run off the edge there and die. That's bad news. Yeah, like I said, the last segment is pretty slow and boring, but there is one trick we'll do at the end, which saves a little bit of time, which is kind of fun to do, so. So just get control bike, just run along the little brass part there. And once again, like I mentioned in Factory, when you grab these levers, just pick a direction and stick with it. So here I'm just holding directly to the right, I'm not doing anything else. If you're fast enough to turn around right as you finish this thing, you can flip around and just grab this second point right away. Otherwise you have to grab the first one first. Makes sense. It's not a big deal, but it's kind of nice to skip the first one. Here, try to move fairly quickly. Make sure you actually get the grapple points, but try to move fairly quickly so you don't run out of energy. But you have to go pretty slow to run out of energy. So, we're going to do another grapple storage here. So, once again, you can just tap left bumper and then Y. Or if you want to play it safe, you can hold and then hold. It's up to you. Whatever the case, just get the grapple going. Grapple storage. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to jump into this corner and then grapple while we're in the air. And what this is going to do is it's going to pull us into the room inside the dome, which is going to trigger the final cutscene. And then it's also going to pull us out of the room, and then because we're not supposed to have control during the last cutscene, we can't actually hang on to the grapple point, and we will just fall to our death. And when we respawn, we can actually move around during the final cutscene. Which is useful, because reasons. You'll see in a sec. So you can actually hear the Funnel Kitchen playing in the background. So now we can just make our way in here and we can actually move around. And what we can do is do a thrust on this chick. And that will like snap her out of whatever she's doing and move her into position right away, which is what triggers the queen. So you can hear we're like coughing and actually dying, moving like slowly towards the queen, but she's already triggered, so this saves like 15 seconds. And you can still move around a little bit before this happens. You can line yourself up in funny places if you want. This is a very simple trick, but it saves a decent bit of time, and it's a lot of fun, so I absolutely recommend doing this. And as you should know, you get a choice at the end of the game. If you hold the stick to the right, then you have to go through a boss fight with a little girl. That boss fight is really difficult with no sword upgrades and 3 health, so, and it's very slow, so don't bother. So for the speedrun, of course, we just hold to the left and press A to accept the queen's offering. And yeah, you can even move around here, line up in weird ways. So you can reach out your hand, like even though it's not even close to her hand. And yeah, so you hold left and press A, and timing stops on the first all black frame. So right here. And that's the Hob speedrun. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it's helpful.